ECSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download.
2,000 years long, we will never settle. Hard days, no way, with a heavy metal. No time, no fail, won't stop here. Like a torch to a flame when it burns hot.
From the ECSI Sports Studios and the #1 sports investors in America, we bring you the closing bell. As the market closes, legends Jeff Dawson and Riley Magnuson bring you all the sports investing tips for tonight's matchups. If you want to learn more from the two legends at the desk, make sure you stay tuned to the closing bell.
Good afternoon, sports fans from all around the globe. Yes, we're back. It's the closing bell, Wednesday, March 12th, 2025. It's March Madness Conference Championship Week. The Players, which is the 17th hole right behind me, the classic of all classics. Great, great show this morning, of course, with Mr. Brady Cannon. It's that time of year. It really is. It's craziness. It's teams punching tickets that never thought they were. A hell of a run. Delaware last night trying to make history. Over-unders that you're ready to cash at halftime, that you're sweating like a banshee, and teams that you expect to win that just mail it in because they're already in, and vice versa. So a lot to talk about. I want to bring Riley in 1 second here just to talk about what's been going on here. And then we can do a re-entry Wednesday. We can do everything that we want to do, of course, in the upcoming, I don't know. I told him I'll try to make this short, but we'll see what happens. First and foremost, a shout out to our proud sponsorships and partnerships. It's WagerWire. Head on over to Google Play. Download the app. It is free. Viva Tequila Seltzer, 6 flavors in all. The East Coast is Cuckoo for Coconut. AtlantaSteaksandSeafood.com. Head on over, introduce yourself to Mr. Terry Smith, of course, at Facebook. And while you're there, place an order at AtlantaSteaksandSeafood.com. Steaks, chops, appetizers, seafood, wine, you name it, Terry's got it. Order today and you could be grilling by Monday. Without further ado, Mr. Riley Magnuson. What's up, champ?
What is up, my friend? Happy Wednesday, right in the middle of a busy college basketball Wednesday and some conference action here. So, like you said, I'm willing for any type of show that we got going on here. We got plenty of stuff to talk about. So, ready to lock and load. Plenty of NFL news going on, and we got the Players tournament that you're obviously your backdrop right in front of there, starting tomorrow. So, all things good in the world of sports here in March. It's the madness is here, my friend.
You know, I want to, we haven't done a show in a while. Life gets busy. A lot of things getting busy as you're getting close to walking down that aisle. And I'm trying to hold the fort up here. A lot of irons in the fire. To be successful in this business, you have to leave your heart and your ego at the door every day. And you can't chase. That's a big part of this. And to go on big winning streaks, you need a lot of luck. And Big Cat, I had said earlier, hats off to his 16-0 run where he had a couple games he had no right winning, whether it's a guy falling down in a layup when they were going to pull the ball out, whether it's 30 points in the last 2 minutes to get an over. The streak was broken the night before, and then he just decides to do what he does best and fire, and he went 3-6. So 16-0, and then basically 3-7 his last 10. And for us, last Thursday, it was a half-court shot by Arizona State that we don't get the first half over. I mean, the first half cover from Arizona. Morikawa pre-flop at 18.5-1. And Russell Henley hits a 54-foot putt off the fringe for eagle. We still cashed the top 5, top 10. Last night, we had over 72.5 in a basketball game, and it was 72. And missed shot, steal, missed layup, and missed putback to land on 72. So my point is, I've been watching these games, just let them simmer here, and to see what transpires. And I'm glad, of course, that we're back. And of course, we talked backstage here, and you probably got the live game right in front of you.
I do. 3 seconds left. Arkansas was up 4 trying to inbound the damn ball, and a turnover on their end, or in the middle of the floor. South Carolina swats it, grabs it, gets the quick 2. 3 seconds left. Arkansas inbounding the ball. So anyone with Arkansas plus 4.5, like I may have with a little pizza and beer money on it, is getting a little sweaty here because 3 seconds left. Even if they inbound it, you're thinking 2 free throws, and then whether it's to send it to overtime or a heave down 4. Anyone with Arkansas plus 4.5 is feeling good. The total is sitting at 138 right now, and many people having it at 138.5 on either side are obviously sweating my friend over there.
So there's another perfect example. In other words, if they inbound the ball correctly, they're going to get fouled. They're going to go down and shoot 2 free throws, and the other opponent is going to get a heave.
It is 1-1 for what it's worth. It is 1-1.
But someone's going to get a heave to either get under or over. Now you're saying there was a turnover, a bucket, and now there's a foul, and he's going to go shoot 1-1, and presto bango, the game goes over, and it should never have gone over. Correct?
Absolutely correct. At least the way the second half was going. In Arkansas inbounds it, they're going to the line with 2.3 left. Because there was like an 11-minute stretch where Arkansas didn't score a field goal, I think is what it was. South Carolina was like a 16-4 run for a minute there. So it's it's obviously not looking good. Again, it's 1-1, so he misses the first leg, and South Carolina misses a heave, and then anyone that's got the under is obviously thinking they're lucky stars. But I don't know who it was that's gotten fouled and going to the line. I know they got some good, couple of good free throws short on the floor. I just didn't see who it was there.
Yeah, it's just comical because, again, that the game's supposed to go. I know it was flying way over at halftime. I'm not saying that, but my point is, if the ball is inbounded correctly, they're going to foul. And then they're going to go down. And then even if they make the 2, that's the 2 that South Carolina just scored. So it doesn't matter. So the point is, it would have stayed around 137, 138. And then it would have been a heave from South Carolina, whether it goes over or not, versus a 1-1 that I assume he just made, right?
Right. Haven't seen it yet. Still waiting on the conclusion of it. It's a long little layup. I think someone fouled out, so there might have been a little bit of an extended there. John L. Davis, 83% at the line for the shots there. 4 for 5 on the day. So probably going to swish. Obviously the first one. Should say obviously, but you never know. But yeah, I mean, I've had just having some fun with my buddies on these weekends. Even some of these end of the season games. Some of these games are just so wild. Iowa and Michigan State. Iowa was up, a dozen at half. I don't even remember what it was. Michigan comes flying, and my buddy is celebrating. I'm like, dude, I've seen way too many Iowa games to be feeling any type of okay about this game right now. They come flying back and are up by 14 or whatever it is with a few minutes left, and then Iowa somehow has a chance to get it. But yeah, to conclude, Arkansas hits the free throws. South Carolina might be calling a timeout just for trying to figure something out, but they're down 4 with 2.5 left. So, barring a steal and a quick Arkansas turnover or foul, Arkansas plus 4.5 bettors are safe, and the over bettors appear to have been in business with a little lucky start of their day here.
I have to ask you this question. I want to go back to Saturday night, the main event where Ankaliev versus Pereira. And again, we had talked at length. I had done boatload of shows, and the shops were on Ankaliev, and he opened at minus 200 on Bet Online. The closing number was Pereira minus 125 or 30 when you were shopping. I specifically waited and watched that fight. And of course, the entrance by Pereira. And you know how much of a big fan. That's my guy. My money was on Ankaliev. And it was one of these. Now, please, I'm not the expert here, but I knew right away this was not the Pereira that I was used to seeing, number one. Number two, if you had on your scorecard Ankaliev winning by decision with 0 takedowns, that odds would have been plus 5,000.
Right.
What did you see in that fight? That was not the Pereira that I knew.
Right. It was almost, he's so calculated, and a lot of these fighters are, and some of these points where you see somebody who's invincible and you don't think much of it, and then they finally get to an opponent that can, kind of match them, and they have to respect. It was almost just such a respect factor that Pereira didn't see where his chance to strike and take those big shots fit in, because he was worried about it coming back to him on the other end of it there. And judging by the way, his reaction after the fight, he thought he had done enough as far as the decision is concerned, which he obviously did not, because it is tough to take away, especially someone who's been a champ for a few times in a row. You never leave. It's you have to be convincing enough to take down a champ there, and obviously that was the case the other night. So it was almost just one of those cases where Pereira's game plan almost didn't seem like it was coming to fruition, and he respected Ankaliev so much that he was, gun shy in a sense, because he didn't want to get caught himself there. So he thought he was going to be able to pick and choose his spots, and Ankaliev just another one of these guys, kind of. In that same group of fighters that don't do anything flashy, but they're just so damn fundamentally sound. Can beat you in a number of different ways, and they'll grind you out, and they know how to win the points. They know where they're not going to lose points. They know how to avoid takedowns, whatever it is. So just another solid performance. And I have to imagine, it's a fork in the road. Does he go to heavyweight now, or do we do an immediate rematch and get some type of double or trilogy fight here with Ankaliev? I guess is to be seen. I'd lean more towards, we might get some type of rematch and potentially a trilogy between those two guys there.
Yeah, that's the rumor has it, that after the fight, Ankaliev said basically in a nutshell, hey, I'll rematch you any time of the day. Just, in his presser, he says, just don't run for 25 minutes. And I was comically laughing at everyone that thought that Pereira won the fight. I was like, again, I don't know where you could say he ever won that fight. I don't even think it was close. The scorecards made it close. Dana White loses his face now. Do they pull up that Aspinall versus Jones coming? I have no idea. But again, very disappointed. Now, I would be real disappointed knowing that Pereira knew win, lose, or draw, he had a rematch set up. And as you said, being so calculated, hey, I'm going to feel this guy out for 5 rounds. Now they're going to take it back to my camp, and we're going to come up with a strategy, because Lou said it on our show on that Thursday. They've been keeping Pereira away from the wrestler, the guy that knows exactly how to beat this guy. And it showed. It definitely showed. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, you said it great as far as, does he know that he's getting the rematch no matter what? Because it's not like he got – maybe I'm drawing a blank. Maybe he did once, but it's not like he got stunned so bad that it was like he was a shell of himself for the rest of the fight. He just looked like he didn't know how to attack this guy. So, whether it's he respected him so much and was worried about getting caught, or like you said, trying to gain as much data and feel this guy out as much as he can, because you might see him another time or two. Is maybe how it goes. I mean, you would be surprised by that, because you win that fight and maybe you don't even have to worry. I mean, maybe if he was told that he's going to fight this guy twice anyways, then maybe that's the story. But you win that fight convincingly, maybe you never even have to see Ankaliev again, and then you're off to heavyweight fights and whatever it is. So I'm interested. I would be interested to see the fly on the wall, what the preceding conversations were. But we're obviously not done seeing him, and we're going to see some good stuff left out of him. But he is in his upper 30s. I mean, it's obviously
36.
36, 37, whatever it is. For someone who's only been in the highest level of the sport for a few years, you'd think he's younger than that, but he's not. So at some point, you're wondering, how much at this level he's got in the tank. So I would hope they move quick and get some, whether it's a rematch or whatever's next for him. I'm obviously interested to see. And Ankaliev obviously is deserving as much accolades as he can get for winning that fight himself there.
What else did I see? Hats off to Gage. Hats off to is it Pfizer, Fazir, whatever it is. Faziev. A short notice. That was a great fight. Most impressed with Van. Van is the real deal in my eyes. And what was it, Ruffy, with that spin kick that just absolutely could have been the kick of the year.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I think because someone else later in the card had one of 11 roundhouse knockout kicks. So I don't know if that was one of 11 before that kick for Buffy or not. That one was awesome. Shout out to Amanda Lemos. She fought an absolute, she's 37, fought a 23-year-old, something like that. Lemos was a favorite, absolutely dominated her from start to finish, had her, kind of another up-and-comer in the women's side of things, which is crazy. This women's strawweight division, I think 7 of the 10 top contenders are all Brazilian, outside of, the top 2 or 3 or something like that. So the Brazilian fighting obviously is alive and well, certainly in the women's sport. So shout out to Lemos. Baja Mendez is a guy to watch in the lightweight division. He was really, really good. Like you said, Gaethje, great stuff from him. Fiziev, after the fight, kind of alluded to it was really easy for him to cut weight to get to this fight. So he's considering going down another level himself, and going down a weight class, which I think could be a really potentially solid move, because it's such the lightweight class is so loaded. You've got Makhachev at the top, who's obviously a freaking warrior, and you've got guys like Gaethje, Poirier, Michael Chandler. So there's so many guys here where you might be at the prime of your career, but 3 out of 4 fights you're fighting an absolute gauntlet, and no matter how well you fight, it's really hard to go perfect in that. So would be really interested to see if Fiziev takes that advice from himself and goes down a level, because I think it would be successful. He looked really solid on the short notice anyways.
We'll have Lou at 3:00 tomorrow to talk about this upcoming card. A couple more weeks left in that 11 straight weeks of UFC. Players behind me, championship. This is a big boy event. Of course, the news of the day yesterday, Tiger Woods blows out an Achilles and basically done for the year, 6 to 9 month turnaround. He'll turn 52 during the year, so it'll be interesting to see if the PGA, who is battling the Unite the Live Tour, if they come up with a Tiger rule where he can play the majors and then maybe plays the senior tour, or concentrates on TGF or whatever it's called, and his son, Charlie, who knows there. But this tournament this week, Scottie has won back-to-back years. Currently the favorite at plus 555. As I said earlier, did a show today with Brady. His top of the card started with Morikawa. If you had Morikawa last week, you have to have him this week. Yeah. This is precise iron play. Morikawa, Ludwig Oberg. I think it's going to take a few more weeks to get Xander back in the lathered shape. If you want to, plus 555 is the highest number I've seen this year with Scottie. I still don't think he's right. And the fact to win 3 weeks in a row is going to be tough. I've seen a lot of Rise out there. I've seen some Tommy Fleetwoods out there. Justin Thomas out there. I guess my first question before I ask you who you see is what do you do with Rory this week?
That's a tough one because you're still getting him as a number 2 favorite out of respect. Um, it's going to be interesting because you've got, like you said, you've got Morikawa, who I agree with. You got to go back to, and you got to take a look, even if you didn't have him, because it's such a course that suits him, and he's obviously hungry. I mean, he was so upset that he blew that lead this past Sunday, so that's a name for sure there. I think you sit Rory on the shelf until he starts to really get rolling, honestly, because haven't seen him in full 4-day domination mode here in these PGA events. So I'm gonna leave it here for now. But at some point, I think he is going to have a nice day or two here, and so he could absolutely be in the mix there. So I don't have much of a feel for Rory right now. You said JT, love some JT action. My guy Sepp Straka has been in the mix and has been a good option there. There was another guy I was looking at. You said Rye, that's a good one there. There's a lot of guys. I mean, again, there's a lot of guys that haven't been playing well or have been playing injured that we're still waiting for coming, to come back and kind of get themselves back into the mix. Like Willie Z, Victor Hovland, obviously has been a shell of himself the last 365 days here. So. Some of these guys at the top. I mean, Hideki is another guy that's healthy now that I think has been a little quiet these last couple of tournaments that I think could really turn it on. Always a guy that I'm watching. And I'm with you as far as I'm not quite ready for Scottie yet. I think I need to see him really, really have that, maybe he was like 10 shots back, or maybe I'm a little off this past Sunday. Had he gone 5 under on the back and looked like he was roaring up and giving people a little scare on this past Sunday, then I might be there. So I think I'm skipping it. I guess my question back to you on Scottie is, at what point, if he's kind of lurking around the top 20, top 10, at what point maybe these odds start to slip to 500, 600, 700 a little more consistently? At what point do you start firing on Scottie Scheffler? Do you need to see him have an awesome round or two in one of these tournaments when he's 10 shots back, or are we just kind of waiting until he really gets going before we respect him again?
If you don't play pre-flop golf and you check after each round win, you can buy. Obviously, if he's 5 shots back and they're giving you plus 3,000, you start to bite at the apple.
Yeah.
There, personally, I think with the injury around Christmas time, this is just the appetizers to Augusta.
Yeah.
I think that's where, again, I'm saving Scottie for my one and done. There at Augusta, even though I've already used Oberg, I've already used Morikawa. Mm-hmm. Those names really stick out to me there as well. Matsuyama is another guy there. But I think the Masters is probably the next time we'll see Scottie, potentially winning a tournament. Not that he can't win this week or leading up to the Masters, but that's where my eye is with him. I have a hard time with Rory this week. Morikawa is the second favorite at the Circa right now, and they're giving you a lot of meat on the bone for Rory. I mean, it's one of these, you're going to give me that price on Rory, and we know he's got that other gear in the bag, and you're like, how can I leave Rory off here? And again, Xander, second week back, he's shaking off the rust, another guy that could be scary coming up to the Masters.
Yeah, absolutely. That's another one. I mean, he's at 22-1, which obviously, I mean, he's at least on the app I'm looking at, 6th in odds, tied for 5th in odds, which is respectable. But obviously, we're at a point where, less than a year ago, 7, 8 months ago, he was, 10-1, 9-1, 8-1, alongside Scottie, or 5-1 when Scottie's not there, type of thing. So I'm with you there. It's going to be interesting. I guess CHILLLL is the other name that's. We haven't seen him at his best, I don't think, and I'm not necessarily looking at him this week. But another guy that's not everyone's favorite to watch. He's probably unequivocally the most boring star in golf. But I think at some point this year we could see a nice CHILLLL stretch here.
No, I used him already too. So
Yeah.
That's the funny part there. We'll see how it goes, of course. There, NFL the official free agency starts at 4:00 there, and I gave you the backstage talk. It was kind of funny. Our guy in Philadelphia says rumors have it that AJ Brown is on the move. And I says, well, if that's the case, there's only one spot he's coming in. That's back to New England, where Mr. Vrabel drafted him when he was with Tennessee. Cooper Kupp will be a big name everyone's talking about there. Thoughts on your Packers so far, and any thoughts on what happens moving forward?
Yeah. It was a quiet start, obviously, and a lot of the big names and names that the just names that the fan base wanted went off the board, especially receiver. People want a little bit of a shake up there. But the two that they did get, the bigger names, Nate Hobbs at corner and Aaron Banks at offensive line, I'm really happy with. You get offensive line flexibility with Banks on top of being a solid pickup. He can slide in at guard, potentially pushing Elton Jenkins, who has been our guard, maybe over to center. So it gives us some flexibility there that I was excited about. Obviously, in the playoff game against the Eagles, Elton Jenkins goes down, and they're whatever 2 or 3 options that they tried to input in plays of them were horrific. So a nice addition there, and I'm sure they'll do some more offensive line depth stuff in the draft. If not, maybe another depth guy here at a low price here at free agency. But Nate Hobbs at corner, I'm excited about. Not a position that the Packers have really spent money on in free agency the last, I don't know, since Charles Woodson 15 years ago, or almost 20 years ago, whatever it is. And I'm excited about that because the defense at a spot where you're retaining just about everyone on defense, aside from maybe, Jair Alexander. But if you're looking at last year's defense, you're not really accounting for him anyways. At a point where, maybe if he's healthy and you can kind of come to a agreement of getting him back, then if he's bought in, then I'm in. But obviously, if he's not bought in, then I think most Packers fans would prefer to see him out of the door. But at cornerback, that's a spot where in the Gutekunst era, they haven't spent a ton of capital on. They got Jair Alexander a few years ago in the first round. But aside from that, it's been a lot of finding diamonds in the rough that they've been serviceable for. So I'm happy that they actually spent some money on the cornerback position. And then I think the other things that I'd really love is there's a lot of veteran defensive linemen that I think just filling out the depth of the defensive line I think would be important there. So I would like to see that. And then I don't know that we're going to get a shakeup at receiver at this point with the names that have come off the board. I imagine they'll probably find kind of the bargain bin maybe in free agency to shake up the wide receiver room a little bit there. I know the fan base obviously wanted, and I did too. I love Devontae Adams. I would have loved to have him back, but it was clear he wanted to be on the West Coast, and going to the Rams with Stafford is going to be potentially a huge combination there. And I mean, T. Higgins is kind of the name that's left, but don't really want them to pay. They would have to trade in and pay him anyways. So I don't think that's likely. That's not really a Packers type of move that they would make unless they thought it was going to set them over the edge and win a Super Bowl, which I don't think is necessarily the case that they're thinking there. So, draft is going to be interesting. I think they've got some minor moves up their sleeves in free agency, but I think those two big ones are probably the bigger ones. And the you look at social media and you think the sky has fallen because we're not adding the best names, but the Packers, up until Josh Jacobs, Xavier McKinney last year, have never really been a big free agency player anyways. So getting two starting players a year is a nice turnaround these last couple of years for my lifetime as a Packers fan in free agency.
And the Patriots didn't go offense; they went defense. They got the biggest. They stole the kid, not stole. They paid the kid from Milton from the Eagles. They grabbed a good gentleman from the Jets to shore up some defense. They got a wild card from the Raiders. They got a quarterback from the Lions. So again, they're filling some holes. They still need a left tackle. They need a number one wide receiver. Maybe it is via trade, A.J. Brown. I don't think their Ayuk is going to move. I can't see the 49ers trading Debo to then trade Ayuk, even though it's a bad contract, even though he's coming off the injury, with Ricky Pearsall and a cloud of dust, Juwan Jennings, and I think they just brought someone else in. So it will be interesting for sure there. MLB baseball, as we're getting a week closer to the 2 games in Tokyo, Cubs and Dodgers, and then a week later, of course, 27th, I think it is, the MLB officially kicks off. I guess I got to bring it up. Any news from your White Sox?
Oh, there isn't any news. The news is that the Tim Anderson and Yohan Moncada they're playing against them in spring training today. So some old faces. Just at a point where kind of playing the prospect. What prospects are going to come up win at this point here. Got a lot of love for what they've built as far as their pitching prospects rotation, even after giving up Crochet. But outside of a couple guys, the position player. farm system is not looking fantastic yet, so they're still looking to add that. So it's going to be I think they'll win somehow more games than they did last year, but it's going to be will they get to 60 is going to be a fun game of trying to predict. So not going to hold my breath too much there. Would love I mean, Luis Robert bouncing back and having a better season than he did. Same thing with Andrew Vaughn is going to be huge. Whether that's keeping those guys around for the foreseeable future or flipping them for, like I said, multiple position player farm prospects is kind of the biggest things, other than developing the prospects they have. So it's I'm not going to be too happy at any time you ask me this season yet. I don't think as far as this White Sox questions, but you never know. Baseball is a funny game, my friend.
Red Sox injuries, a few injuries. Bello will not be ready for the start of the year. We kind of knew that. Giolito gets paid for a full year, and it gets it ramped up to come out for a start yesterday, and 24 pitches later, he's got a tight hamstring. They are just not built like they used to. The Devers thing is real funny. Since Bregman has been signed, Devers flew the coop for a week, and then he was going to play 2 weeks ago, then last weekend, then this week, now this weekend. So keep an eye on that. I think when they go and break camp, I think their first two series on the road at Texas and I think at Baltimore before they come home, I expect Devers at third. I expect Bregman at second, and Yoshida to be the DH. Obviously, thank you very much for Mr. Crochet as our ace there. Him and Bueller have looked fabulous. We'll see, now you'll start to hear about Fitz and Preeter and all this other garbage till the rest of the back end is ready there. Tanner Houck, Cutter Crawford, Garrett Whitlock, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Bunch of games going on as we speak in the college ranks. Northwestern 13-7 in your country there. West Virginia had a 14-point lead, now 27-21 against Colorado. Carolina 43-29 against Notre Dame. San Jose State and Wyoming, a big lead blown by San Jose State, now 58-52. Fordham 69-57 against Rhodey. And the snoozer of the day, Grambling, trails Southern University 44-38. The board is yours, my friend.
Yeah, we've got Texas and Vandy starting up here in a less than 10 minutes, I think. One of the bigger games as far as bubble implications is concerned. There's another SEC game that's also a decent one, another Big Ten game that's also in there. So I think one of the, unless I'm drawing a blank, one of the three games that has the biggest stakes to it today in Vandy and Texas. Texas getting a couple guys. They got Chendall Weaver back after a while, one of their better players on their team. 2.5-point favorite for Vandy in this spot here. If Texas loses, they're toast. Not the reason why I think they're going to win. It's more of they've been playing a little better. They get a little healthier. So kind of like Texas in this underdog spot here, coming up in a few minutes here. Got some ugly games, obviously. Iowa and Ohio State. Ohio State trying to solidify their spot. Obviously, Iowa needs to go on a crazy run to have any type of chance. They backdoor their way into the top 15 of the Big Ten and screw Nebraska over, who a week ago we thought was looking like they might be on the right side of the tournament. Now they're not even in the Big Ten tournament, let alone that tournament. So I don't know about you. Interested in your thoughts on this. I would not call it an Iowa number by any means at 5.5 here. But Iowa is, we've talked about Iowa. These Iowa games are all over the place, so hard to predict. They've got a lot of veteran experience on this team. Would not surprise me at all if you get a spirited effort. That's not expert opinion. That's more of a just thinking Iowa maybe has got some spirit left in them, left in this game and tournament here, maybe, and maybe on a little couple underdog game run here. So not for the number necessarily, Jeff, but I do kind of have a more of a heartfelt, not because I like them, but a heartfelt reason for thinking Iowa might be the side today.
The hardest part about the conference championships, again, is trying to figure out the mentality of these teams. And I try to keep that away. I'm strictly a numbers guy, right. And it's real hard when, for instance, Arkansas today, Calipari even said, I don't give a rat's ass how far we go in here. He already assumed he was in. 4.5-point favorites, lands on 4. Again, you look at an Ohio State team versus an Iowa. You were spot on, by the way. It's an Iowa number. I'm not saying Ohio State's not going to win, but it sounds like they'll win by 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. Just like North Carolina, Notre Dame here. The whole world's on North Carolina. They get out to a big lead. They're up 14 with the start of the second half here. So now it's 12. So I like where your eyes are in Texas. I would play Texas first half because I think if I'm going to get something out of Texas, it's going to be in the first half. And if Vandy's going to win this game, I think they grind them out in the second half here. I was looking at Butler and Providence. Butler's 1.5 point favorites. Again, I lean Providence here, but I think Butler wins the game. So what do? You get into Providence first half here. Neutral site games. But again, these teams played on these courts at some point during the year. So again, go back and check how they did. How did Butler and Providence do when they played in Madison Square Garden, whether it is against UConn, whether it is against St. John's? So there's a lot of legwork to be done here to figure these things out, Riley.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a couple other games, Oklahoma or Georgia. Oklahoma's very much on the bubble. If they lose, it's probably a death sentence for Oklahoma. They win, they might have a great chance. There was one other one. Not one that was on the bubble, but one that I wanted to mention. USC and Rutgers. Kind of a toss-up of, a lot of people have had opinions on both these teams. You and I, USC, had a stretch where we looked at USC as they were the big winners of, a random weekend in January or February. And now they're 15-16. Rutgers has been, but USC has been losing their head off the last handful of games. Rutgers, on the other hand, has been treading water all season long, but they've obviously got 2 lottery picks, so they're kind of a darling for some people because you got the two studs and Ace Bailey and Harper there. So I don't know what to make of that one. I'll lean towards the team who's been playing a little better because USC has not been playing well, and I'll lean towards Rutgers. But that one is absolutely a game of who out of those two teams wants it more, because neither team, barring a victory in the Big Ten championship title game, is getting into the dance next week.
No, I agree. I pulled up the Circa app right now. Give out people a couple conference championship winners, or hope to be winners, of course, so you don't have to play every game. I do like St. John's plus 165 to win the Big East. If you think UConn's got a run in them, I don't. But you can get them at plus 355. The only other fly in the ointment, they got Creighton at 400. The shocker here is Marquette at plus 600. So keep your eyes. Again, I think it's St. John's to win. I think it's the year of Rick Pitino in the Big East, and I think they get that done there. The Liberty right now plus 120 to win the USA. There's really not a lot to chew on here. Middle Tennessee, the second favorite, at plus 615. New Mexico State at plus 635. That was where I would go if you're looking for a dark horse there. In the Big West, UC San Diego is minus 170. They have been a cash covering cow.
Yeah.
This team, that's all they do is win and cover. They're minus 170, but if you want a little meat on the bone, the second favorite there, UC Irvine, the Anteaters, plus 170 there. The WAC, Grand Canyon's at plus 150, Utah Valley at plus 185, Seattle at plus 500. Don't have an opinion there. And in the MAC right now, Akron is the favorite at plus 140, Kent State at plus 215. Miami of Ohio at 455. I like Kent State at plus 215 there. Anything else, sir?
Anything else? I'll use it as my closing thoughts and kind of a question. I'll my answer will be team and kind of my neck of the woods. We've seen some teams get into the dance already. Their conference tournaments end, or we're deep in these conference tournaments. Any random teams that could make a nice little win or two in the next 8-9 days from now, as far as mid-majors are concerned?
I was on Sports Grid a ton last week and weekend. I gave out New Mexico. I think New Mexico with Patino's had a great year. I think this is a year that they can advance and actually make it to the Sweet 16. Here's another team that no one's talking enough about, and that's VCU. VCU is a team that I'm telling you, they get in your face. They can play defense. They got great transition. They can do it all, and I don't think they're getting enough respect there. So VCU in New Mexico. Um, as for my Huskies report, here's what I'll tell you. They go as far as Caravan goes, and I think he's been. I was going to use the word bust. That's not fair. I just not the Caribbean that we expected or I expected. I thought he was going to replace Cam Spencer. He was going to be that lethal 3-point shooter. Liam McNeely got the Big East Freshman of the Year as deserved. Slam Johnson's been good. Their guard play has been horrific. They don't handle the press well. They too many turnovers. I got that feeling of 3 years ago when they lost in the first round to New Mexico State. They're going to be in that 8-9 spot, which sets them up for, if they win, could be playing a 1 or a 2 seed. So I'm hoping they at least get through the first weekend, get to that Sweet 16. Anything can happen and go from there. But again, we have big futures on St. John's, 47-1. And 10-1 or 9-1 to get to the Final Four. We got Florida at 7-1, and at I forget our number for the Final Four. I'll wait for the brackets. I know Duke's the favorite. Houston, Auburn are respected there. But if you said to me, Jeff, who's cutting the nets down without a bracket in front of me today, 3:53 on February 12th, I'm going the Florida Gators.
Gators are a good one, and you got a lot of people like Alabama. They've obviously had a similar team these last few years, and haven't been able to put those stretches together in the tournament there. So the SEC, I'm so interested in how the SEC does. I think you're going to get 1 or 2 teams that make a really, really deep run. I just worry, and I guess you've seen this so many times where you have a conference that's so much better than everyone else. And again, I do think Gators is a fantastic selection. Maybe Auburn is the other team. There's probably 2 or 3 teams that make a really, really deep run. But sometimes when you have these great team conferences, they don't do that well in the first couple of weekends of the tournament, and they're destroying everybody's brackets. So these teams like Vandy, or if Georgia or Oklahoma makes it, I'm not sure what we see out of them in the first round. The one team that I think is going to be the public darling as far as a mid-major team goes is
can I say it before you say it?
Yep.
I think you're going to go with the Drake.
The Drake, listed as I think on ESPN they got him as a 10 seed right now, and we talked about this. I think they're a good team, but the problem is, this conference is a respectable conference, but it's not as strong as it was. You've had so many teams out of the Missouri Valley that kind of emulate, whether Drake's 30-3. You've had other teams, whether it be Loyola or Wichita State. All these teams aren't in the conference anymore. And again, Bradley was a tough team that they beat in the conference championship game. Belmont's tough, but the point is, this conference isn't as stingy as it's been in the past to get through. Whereas another year, 7 years ago, if you had a year like this, 30-3 Drake and Bradley with whatever their record ended up being, you might have a couple teams in this tournament field from the Valley. So I think they're going to be a very public, trendy 10-11 seed to win their first round game, maybe even win their second game. Maybe they win their first game, but I'm not going to put them up against whoever that might end up being as a whatever it would be 3-2 seed. Their non-conference schedule, they got a win over Vandy, and that's obviously nice, but they've got wins over K-State and Miami, which at the time people are like, oh, nice non-conference wins, and then we saw how those 2 teams ended up this season. So credit to them. They had a great season, but I think that is going to be the most trendy mid-major pick of the tournament, regardless of what the draw is.
No, I 100% agree with you, and I knew before you even said it that's what was coming out the drain. Don't forget the magical runs of the George Masons. Don't forget about the magical runs of Sister Mary Jean. And everyone wants to hold on to that glass slipper, saying they have Cinderella. Everyone, as soon as you get your bracket, who's the 12 that's going to beat the 5? And there's just so many scenarios. Now, Duke, Player of the Year, with Cooper Flagg, and I tell you what though, that kid for Auburn, the Broom kid, he's a beast. And listen, I love Auburn to death, I do. But just every year I put him in that spot and I get let down. I look at here's a sleeper in the Big 12. I think Texas Tech has a chance to make some noise. Now again, Houston can play defense with the best of them, but if they get matched up against a hot shooting 3-point team, not saying they can't put the clamps on the defense down 10, 12, 14, they can. But again, they're just offensively challenged. So I think Duke, anyone that wants to put Duke to the Final Four, I have no problem with it.
Right.
The SEC, Auburn, Florida, I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with Houston. We know we're going to get upsets. You could probably get carnage in the first weekend and then the first round of the Sweet 16, and then usually the cream will rise to the top, and there's your Duke, there's your Florida. Who is the lowest seed, the 5 seed X, and then fill in the blank.
Right. And I'll finish with, that's why I've been pretty adamant all year. I don't think there's any Big Ten teams that can cut the nets down. Michigan State is starting to get in my mind a little bit. I think they could go on a very deep run and whatnot, especially if there's carnage and they end up playing a 10 seed, a 7 seed, a 10 seed, an 8 seed, some goofy run like that. Then obviously it's not going to be that crazy that they went to the run. As far as Big Ten teams go, I don't see them getting through a Duke, Auburn, Duke, Houston, Auburn, Florida, Tennessee, back-to-back. It would be surprising to me if any of these Big Ten teams upset a couple teams like that in a row. So I think there's a handful of teams that could make a Final Four run with the right draw and maybe beat one of these teams. But, if any of these Big Ten teams are faced with that type of gauntlet where they got to face one of the, 2 of the top 5, 10 teams, I'm not too hopeful in these Big Ten teams. But Michigan State, kind of at that point where, they've had that type of season where they just keep getting stronger and stronger. And some of these games at the end of the season, they're just imposing their will on some of these Big Ten teams that are solid. So I do think they can make a deep run. I don't know that they can cut down the nets at the end of the day, though, Michigan State myself.
It's going to be interesting. It's going to be fun. That's why they call it the Madness here. Tomorrow at 11 a.m., Adam Trigger will be back from Wager Talk from Adam Trigger WT to talk some college hoops. Then we're going to follow it up with Tyler Wyatt at Tyler Wyatt Bets at Odds Culture, who's nursing a potential ACL problem that we're going to get him on for a few minutes here. And 3 o'clock, Lou Finocchiaro will be back for UFC. And then on Friday, of course, I will be on 10:15 a.m. Wager Talk and Andrew McGinnis's channel to talk some NHL. And then at 11 o'clock, the NCAA Insiders will be back talking some college baseball, week number 5, and the start of conference play. My Yukon Huskies heating up as we speak. And then we'll follow up with Sean Alvarez talking some big-time horse racing as we get closer to the Kentucky Derby. For myself, Jeff Dawson at EC Sports Investor, the one and only Mr. Riley Magnuson at Riley_Magnuson, the one. Wish everyone a blessed day. Enjoy the madness. Have some fun. Stay in your lanes, guys. Be careful out there, and we'll see you soon.